Good morning, Boker Tov, everyone. The famous story in this week's Torah portion. God tells Moshe Rabbeinu, take your staff and go speak to the rock, and the rock will produce water. The Jews are complaining, they're quarreling, they want water. And Moshe, in frustration and anger, lashes out, strikes the rock and says, listen up, you rebels. And the rock produces water. And God famously says to Moshe, you failed to sanctify my name by speaking to the rock as I instructed you, which would have demonstrated a far greater miracle that even through words the rock produced water. Instead, you struck the rock, and therefore you will not enter into the land of Israel. And Moshe Rabbeinu is denied a visa, a passport to enter into the land of Israel, never setting foot in the land of Israel, the ultimate destiny and goal of his liberation of the Jews from Egypt. And there are so many questions on this story. But one question is that God seems to have set him up for failure, because God says, take the staff and go speak to the rock. It's like Simple Simon when we trick the kids to touch the wrong part of their body. If he was supposed to speak to the rock, why take the staff with you? One beautiful explanation is that it doesn't say take a staff. It says take the staff, hamata. What does the staff refer to? The staff. What's the staff? If you recall in last week's Torah portion, the Jews complained about the leadership of Aaron the high priest. And what did God say? Every tribe leader should take a staff, put it in the tent of meeting, and when they returned in the morning, they saw that the staff of Aaron had blossomed and grown buds and flowers and almonds. And therefore Moses says, God tells Moses, take the staff. Which staff? The staff of your brother Aaron, because Aaron had passed away in this week's Torah portion. Take his staff. Why his staff? Because his staff will remind you to be like your brother Aaron. Your brother Aaron was a man of peace, a man who always sought to restore harmony and reconciliation amongst people. He was Ohev Shalom v'Rodev Shalom. He loved peace and pursued peace. And like the staff, which demonstrated that the way you overcome strife is not with, like the story of Korah, the ground opening itself up and swallowing up people with intimidation, with fear, with hitting, but rather with the blossoming of the staff, with fruit, with sweetness, with kindness, with understanding all the parties, and having empathy and sympathy. And that's why God told him to take the staff as a reminder. This week was the 18th yahrzeit of Israel's greatest songwriter, Naomi Shemer, who wrote the famous songs like Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, Lo Tinatzchu Oti, one of the most celebrated celebrities and songwriters in Israel. And her son was asked, what does it feel like? What was it like growing up with such a famous mother? What was it like growing up in her shadow? And he said, I didn't grow up in her shadow. I grew up in her light. Sometimes famous people, important people, powerful people could cause you to feel like you have to stay in the shadows. But the real greatness is when people can stand in your light. And therefore, God tells Moshe, take the staff of Aaron. Always go with peace, with love, with tolerance, with acceptance, with understanding, with empathy and sympathy. Naomi Shemer, when she was in the hospital, just 2 days before she passed away, she would get letters from people all over the country. And she would respond to every letter. And she got a letter from a class of 4th graders who wrote to her. And she called her son over and said, I have a problem. I'm too weak to respond to this letter from these beautiful children in 4th grade who wrote to me. But do me a favor, call their teacher and ask their teacher to explain to the kids that I don't have the strength to respond to this letter. But they should just send me their good wishes and their love in their heart. And I will feel it, and I will send them back my love and good wishes from my heart. Human beings have a way of communicating that doesn't need words, doesn't need pen and paper, doesn't need an email. We could feel each